Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Church Doctor, that podcast that only releases an episode every 1,000 years, because this week we watched The Ghost Monument.
Written by Chris Chibnall.
Directed by Mark Tonduai?
And aired on October 14th, 2018.
As you can tell, I didn't prepare my pronunciation of the director's name before just diving headfirst in when I started recording.
It's all right. We'll probably finally learn after we watch his final episode, like we did with, what's-her-face?
Rachel Talale?
Yeah, I actually forgot the correct pronunciation.
Wow! That was like 3 weeks ago for us! Not even!
Yeah, 3 weeks ago feels like 5 years ago, to be honest.
Wow.
This morning feels like a year ago.
Wow. Wow. Well,
so the Ghost Monument.
I actually have some production stuff about this. This was actually the first episode of Doctor Who filmed in my home country of South Africa. And
wow. Looks like it was filmed in like Death Valley or something.
South Africa. Apparently, this was in the middle of a drought. I think the drought is still going on, actually. But in the middle of a drought,
bacteria like infested water. Just kidding.
It was in the middle of a drought. Apparently, the lady who played, what was her name? Tasman. No, I think that was the actress's name. Hang on.
I didn't know anyone's name in this.
So, okay. Tosin Cole, who plays Ryan Sinclair, got heat stroke while filming this.
Huh?
Because it was in a desert in the middle of a drought. So, and that is all the production information I have. I just thought it was interesting. This is the first episode filmed in South Africa, in the entirety of Doctor Who.
Huh? That's a bit of a surprise.
So there you go. And Chris Chibnall back writing again, as the showrunner usually does for like his first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Moffat did it. Russell T did it. I don't actually remember if Chris Chibnall writes Rosa next week, so I don't know if Chris Chibnall did it, now that I think about it.
But here he is writing this one, their first trip to an alien world, an alien planet.
I actually like this episode quite a bit, actually. Really enjoy it.
It was okay.
What didn't you like about it?
It was just okay. Like, there was nothing I disliked about it, but there's nothing that I like really liked about it. It's just another one in the batch. Another one in the pile. Another one in the hundreds that are in the pile. We're still in sort of the beginning era. Usually takes 2 to 3 episodes to sort of establish everything, and this season is doing what both of the other, I guess you could say, eras of the new series did, which is that they're going to an alien world, and the next week we're going to be doing like a period, well, not a period episode, I guess, for this one. But just an episode set on Earth.
In the past.
Yeah. So kind of having that structure.
It works for Russell T, so it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I think Stephen Moffat did it for his...
He did, but it worked for Russell T first. Russell T did it first. So, yeah, he had New Earth, and then they had the one with Charles Dickens.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to the classic show. We had the introduction episode, and that the classic show kind of reversed it, where they went to Earth in the past, and then they went to an alien world, and then we got the masterpiece known as Edge of Destruction. So the Ghost Monument, aka the TARDIS. They should have just called this episode the TARDIS.
No, that would have given away the mystery.
They give it away within minutes.
You got to get through the whole intense space crash sequence first. They're in space.
I don't know if I would use the word intense.
So where we left off, our intrepid adventurers were floating in space. Are they going to die? Are they going to suffocate in the vacuum of space?
Yes.
They just do. The show ends.
Chris Chibnall uses his power to end Doctor Who once and for all. No, they live. Shocker. Are we really going back to the classic era, like cliffhanger of, oh no, are they going to die? And no. The answer is no every single time.
Oh, I thought you were saying the answer is no. We're not going back to the classic series cliffhanger, which is also true because no, we're not going back to that.
Thankfully. They do it here, though.
Yeah, but not at the end of this episode.
No. But they resolve it as they do in the classic show. Within the first couple of seconds.
They kind of didn't have a choice here because they would literally die if it was any longer.
But the Doctor and Yaz get taken to a ship, and Graham and Ryan get taken to a different ship.
Right, so Graham and Ryan are on Angstrom's ship, and the Doctor and Yaz are on Epso's ship.
Right.
Apparently, they insinuate there's some sort of bonus for picking up people along the way.
Yeah, I thought they were slave traders or something.
Even better, they're on a race. Well, so yeah, Angstrom lands. Angstrom lands fine. She's out of fuel, but she lands. Epso, on the other hand, he's not only out of fuel, his ship is literally falling apart as they approach the planet.
Wasn't the woman Epso? No? Okay. I don't know. I didn't know anyone's name.
The woman is Angstrom. I remember that because she was the only of the two whose name I actually remember from the episode.
Huh. Yeah, well, they land and they're in this barren wasteland.
Not only that, in the credits you can see Angstrom was played by Susan Lynch and Epso was played by Sean Dooley.
Doesn't mean anything.
No, but it's a pretty good indication.
So they land, and Angstrom and Epso know each other, and they're at each other's throats immediately. I take back what I said about these characters being the anti-Chris Boucher, characters. These are the anti-Chris Boucher characters.
What?
Where everyone's just at each other's throat nonstop.
Well, Angstrom has, she wants to win this for admirable reasons, and Epso's just, Epso doesn't really, his motivation for this isn't really fleshed out.
You know what? They're both personal reasons.
Yeah,
one is for the money, and one is for, your family, really? What does your family mean in the grand scheme of things? In terms of, the collective good, maybe doing this for money is actually better.
Keon's views do not represent the views of the podcast.
So they're just walking through the desert.
Well, so Angstrom, Ryan, and Graham almost get killed by Epso's spaceship crashing into them. And they decide to run away from the crashing spaceship in the dumbest way possible. So they run they're in this kind of, it's not like a gorge, but it's kind of an indentation in the earth that looks almost like a mini valley. And they run down the valley, even though the ship is going in that same direction. But if they just ran up the sides, they would have basically escaped scot-free. So
quick, run to the crash site.
But yeah, then they're at each other's throat and they're walking and they see a tent and the Doctor's like, you guys know what that is? And Epsa goes, yeah, it's a tent. The name of the planet they're on is Desolation, which is pretty cool, I guess.
Pretty ominous as well.
Pretty ominous. They go to this tent, and I got some heavy John Wick vibes. Because in John Wick 3, John Wick just wanders out into the desert looking for a guy in a tent and eventually finds him. He basically lays out the rules of, the task that he has to complete. Not saying that they were inspired by this episode, but I'm not saying they weren't either. Just saying. And this guy, his name is Ilan.
Strangely, close to your name.
True.
Yeah, I didn't know this guy's name either.
Yeah, this was weird because this is weird, and I think it's an editing discontinuity because at the beginning of the episode, the Doctor doesn't find out this guy's name, and then 3 scenes later, Ryan goes, "Oh yeah, Ilan back there said X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "But you guys never found out his name, so how did you know?"
Ryan knows more than he's letting on. Is Ryan even human? No, I think it's probably just a continuity thing. Again, I don't know what this role is called, but most TV shows have a person whose like job is catching all the continuity errors and making sure like all the costumes are contiguous, like scene to scene, and like if a character gets like a scratch or something, that shows up like in the next scene and stuff like that. Try and find what that role is called for the notes.
I'm sure it's like continuity editor, continuity advisor or something.
Like that. Seems like a pretty easy role. I wonder, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
don't know.
I don't know how easy it would be. Like, you've got to make it so that if there is a continuity error, no one notices it, right? Like, you've actually like got to pay attention to these episodes. You've got to watch these episodes like multiple times to make sure that everything lines up.
Watching a show and paying attention. How difficult.
All right, tell me how much attention you paid when you watched this episode.
Trust your doctor.
You didn't know any of the characters' names.
Disparaging people's careers one episode at a time.
Keon's views do not represent the views of the podcast.
Yeah, no, it's there's some difficulty and I guess just difficulty involved in this, I guess. So. Anyway, Ilan sort of explains what's going on here. They're on an intergalactic race.
Yeah, he says that he won the first one, and now he runs the race, and he's ending it with this one. This is the final one for like 3 trillion credits or something.
He's some I got the idea that he was like some crazed millionaire or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's putting an end to this race, and he's really playing by the very strict rules here. People have died in this race. I think we get that little tidbit.
We do, because they tell us that thousands of people started the race and they are down to 2. In fact, we find out 2 people were in the race until they were going to this planet and they didn't make the jump, like their ships fell apart or something. Because when they land, and Epso is like, what about like these other 2 people? And Angsham's like, didn't make it.
But yeah, their goal is to get to somewhere called the Ghost Monument, which appears once every 1,000 years. And they get like a little hologram, because Ilan is actually not there. He's projecting himself via hologram. But they get a hologram of the Ghost Monument, and it turns out to be the TARDIS. There's some explanation here about how the TARDIS like landed out of time, and like it appears on this planet once every 1,000 years.
Yeah, while they're explaining it as the Ghost Monument, the Doctor like basically begs Ilan for an image of what the Ghost Monument looks like, and he shows her, and it's the TARDIS.
Right. So now Angstrom and Epso have to get there. It's sort of in another part of the desert. They have to cross. The only help that they're going to get along the way is that they're going to be provided boats to cross a river or something, because the water is like infested with flesh-eating bacteria.
Right, yeah, the water is like, he's like, don't touch, don't drink, don't do anything to the water because it'll like kill you.
Yeah, I said I thought this looked like Death Valley, California, but it turns out it was actually Mexico. Trust your doctor.
Flint,
disparaging countries and states one episode at a time.
There's this kind of cool idea that they like drop pretty much immediately because it doesn't play into the episode, where Angstrom's like, yeah, we all had to start the race with nothing and like barter our way up to get ships and stuff. And I was like, that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, kind of mirroring what he says later on about how like you come into this world with nothing and you leave alone.
So they get to the boat. The Doctor's like, you guys aren't mechanics. Good thing I've got 2 mechanics with me. Ryan, Graham, figure this out. She basically throws them under the bus. She's like, you guys figure this out.
A mechanic and like a guy who probably knows a lot about engines because he's a bus driver.
My point was that she just like throws Ryan and Graham under the bus, so to speak.
I mean, they seem pretty eager to like get down to business. I phrase that poorly, but like they seem pretty eager to like get to work and figure out what's going on. Probably because if they don't, they're going to die. But did you find it weird? At this point in the episode, I found it weird that like Angstrom and Epso, this is like a very laid back race between the 2. I mean, I guess they've just come so far
They're just over it.
Yeah.
They're also like,
But
if
in the end, it didn't even matter.
Ilan told them that they're not allowed to injure, harm, or like kill the other person, so they don't really have a choice.
Right, but you could just get like a sprinting head start and just like look back and be like, haha, like you're not gonna catch me.
I mean,
now.
Epso does that when they get to the ruins and he like almost gets killed. I guess the thing was there was only one boat provided, and I guess both of them were like, well, I don't know how to fix the boat, so...
Up until that point, it makes sense, but like, I don't know, if I was one of them and I saw that tent at the end, I would just like make a mad dash for that tent, you know? Anyway, yeah, they fix the boat. They get on the boat, and this is where you learn more about sort of the backstories of these two characters.
Right. Epso tells a story about how his mom made him climb a tree and then was like, jump, I'll catch you. And then he jumped and she moved out of the way and he broke an arm and shattered an ankle. And she was like, now you learn that you can't trust anyone. And I was like, whoa. Is this the most tragic childhood we've had on Doctor Who since Fear Her? Probably.
Probably, yeah. And Angstrom's story is that, well, her story is actually pretty dark as well. We don't really get too much, but we find out that her planet has been, like, over-industrialized. And there's also, like, she doesn't go too far into it, but she says people are being cleansed, so you kind of get the idea, or I kind of got the idea that there was, like, some ethnic cleansing campaign going on.
Yeah, well, we get a little more of this later on when we learn who the people are that, like, destroyed Desolation.
And her actual reason for entering this race is that she wants to get enough money to save her family. So she's not even trying to stop whatever is going on. She just wants to get her family out, which is even more dark, you know. There's no way she can stop it.
There isn't really a way she can stop it given the scope of things she explains is going on her planet.
Yeah. So we find out that... Epso has a cigar that he's been saving.
Because it's extremely expensive. Because it takes like half a lifetime to make one.
Right. And we find out that this cigar lights when you snap your fingers. Now, I thought, I would have bet money at this point, that at the end of the episode, when they find the TARDIS, the Doctor was going to snap her fingers and accidentally like light the cigar. And he's going to be like, no, no! But that doesn't happen, because if you remember back
That's a
to
Stephen Moffat
Silence
thing.
in the Library...
That's definitely a
Forest of
Stephen
the
Moffat
Dead.
thing.
The TARDIS doors open when you snap.
Definitely a Stephen Moffat joke.
You mean a Stephen Moffat hit and run? So we get to some ruins.
Right.
And this looks like an ancient, like, mall.
Diner. Oh.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a 50s diner, actually, as well.
They get there and they're like, well, we got to camp somewhere for the night. Because the guy also told them, like, don't cross the planet at night. You'll also literally die. You'll take 5 steps and you'll be dead. Toast. Kaput.
So they go into the ruins. And there's
Right.
some robo-guards there who start firing on them.
They start firing because Epso accidentally triggers a laser when he's walking up the stairs. Because this is when Epso's like, peace out, guys. See you on the flip side. And he runs into the building, trips the laser wire, the robots come out, and they just stand there. And then Epso fires on one of them, and then they start shooting at them.
Right. Ryan's like, I've been training for this my entire life. Call of Duty. Let's go.
Because the Doctor tells him to put the gun down. He's like, no, guns are the only way we can stop them. And she's like, all right, Ryan, go out there and see what happens, Ryan. She doesn't do that, but you can see it in her face. Because he goes, Call of Duty! And then he runs out and guns the robots down. He's like, hell yeah, see, that was easy. And then they immediately just stand back up. And he's like, just kidding. And he runs back
like,
inside.
He doesn't know how to reload the gun, so he's like, how do you reload?
He runs back inside. The Doctor's like, made it worse, didn't you? And he's like, yeah, you don't have to go on about it. And she's like, I will go on about it, though. And I'm like, yeah, you go, Doctor. I mean, you were right.
Yeah, this really reminded me of the Fifth Doctor. I know last week you said, like, it's 13th Doctor's a little Fifth Doctor-ish, but, like, yeah, this really reminded me of, like, the Fifth Doctor.
Yeah. I didn't realize, like, how much she reminded me of him until rewatching these episodes. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It actually is, like, There are some
Yeah.
similarities there.
And this is great. It's a great dynamic. She actually even looks like the Fifth Doctor.
I guess,
like
kind of.
appearance-wise.
Kind of. Her outfit is nothing like the Fifth Doctor, though.
I mean, I get some Fifth Doctor vibes from it.
I don't see any celery on her lapel.
Like the classiness of it, you know. Some of the other doctors were just like weird vagabonds, but
Like
Fifth Doctor,
who are you
no.
talking about when you say that?
Tom Baker.
Damn, when you just said that, for some reason I just remembered his first episode when the Brigadier's like, we can destroy the robot, like, or something like the robot's unstoppable, and then Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, says something like, it's just like what the Titanic said to the iceberg, blub blub blub, while he's like sinking into his chair in the car, and I just remember that scene for some reason. It's the only scene I remember from Robot.
You don't remember when they drive by the robot and pour the like robot destroying liquid on its feet?
Okay, I remember that part too.
Didn't 5 rounds rapid come from Robot?
No, that came from the Daemons.
Oh, it was used in Robot for sure. I would
Probably.
bet money right now, right here and now.
How much money?
However much I have in my wallet, which is probably like $1.
Damn. They meet back up with Angstrom and Epso. And Epso's like, why do we have to wait?
Yeah, they're underground now at this point because they go into like the catacombs.
Yeah, the Doctor disables them with an EMP. Epso's like, why do we have to wait? And she's like, well, we got to figure out like what's going on here, because if we can figure out what's going on here, then we might have a better chance of surviving.
Right.
So Epso takes a nap.
Yeah, he just goes to sort of a bed that he finds.
He's apparently got a
Just a
legendary
stone slab.
ability to fall asleep anywhere. So
Right, and we see him get attacked by like a living sheet before cutting back to the Doctor and co.
yeah, she finds writing on the floor that she can read apparently, and she reads it, and it's basically scientists on the planet were kidnapped to make weapons for, surprise, surprise, the Stenza. Eventually, the Stenza start coming. They decide to destroy all of their work before the Stenza arrives, and the planet is a desolate wasteland because of all the weapons they built that got loose on the planet, basically.
Right.
Pretty cool
So-
idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think the Stenza would ever come back. But I
You
guess-
and everybody else.
I guess they're sort of the overarching villains of this season.
Man, when we were watching the season finale for this episode, for the season, and me and everybody else was like, wait, that's who they decided the villain of this episode was going to be? Just you wait. Just you wait. And everyone's like, did not expect that.
It's not the Stenza then.
So they go outside. There's kind of a scene that looked like it was longer but gets cut. Another maybe continuity thing where Ryan's like not sure that he's going to be able to climb the ladder because of his dyspraxia. And the Doctor's like, just think of like facts about acetylene when you climb the ladder, because there's like acetylene outside. Was it acetylene? This is acetylene. And then it like hard cuts to them outside running away. And I was like, oh, maybe there was a longer scene here where Ryan actually struggles to get up the ladder and they cut it just like for time.
Maybe, yeah. This was actually, I did notice this of like, because I'm guessing dyspraxia is a real
Yeah,
life
it is.
disorder. So is it like mostly mental of like, you know, just it gets in his head that like he can't balance on the bike or climb up the ladder because like he overcomes it by just thinking about something else.
I
So
don't actually
I'll
know.
have to look it up. Yeah.
Genuinely don't know.
But the way they kind of, yeah, that is something I noticed. The way they do this is like he overcomes it by just thinking about something else.
And we don't even get to see that. We just hard cut away from it. And the Doctor like references the facts that he was thinking about when he was climbing the ladder about how acetylene is like lighter than air and
How it like blows up.
and it's easily flammable. But we never saw any of that, so we're like getting this for the first time.
Yeah, so they go out and there's some Dementors from the Harry Potter universe. They've made their way onto this planet. No, this is actually... Who... Wait, who was this? I don't even remember because I just wrote down that they were Dementors from Harry Potter.
Just the cloth. It's just more of the cloth stuff.
Yeah, do we ever find out who these beings are?
No, they're just like weapons that were created on the planet.
Huh. Well, they know some deep, dark secret about the Doctor. And she's like, don't you go talking about that.
Yeah, because they can like read your mind, I think it was. They can see your fears.
Yeah. And the Doctor has, something hidden in her past. This is also weird to me because, like, as far as we know so far, we go right from the 12th Doctor to the 13th. There's like nothing in between the 13th Doctor.
They say something like it's really far back in her memory, so maybe it's something like
it's Clara under her bed.
It's just when it's revealed what it is, it's just going to be Chris Chibnall hit and running Doctor Who in his own way.
They probably don't even know at this point, or maybe they know at this point, but they probably didn't even know when they wrote this episode.
I'm going to say, before you set yourself up for disappointment, that everybody thought, oh, this is going to be like the overarching plot, the timeless child. Like, what's it going to be? Literally never brought up this season again. Just gonna, as far as I can remember, never brought up again this season.
Actually, I'll talk about this at the end. But
just don't want you to set yourself up for disappointment here.
A lot of this reminds me of the classic show, this era. But I want to talk about that at the end. So they solve this problem by lighting the atmosphere on fire.
They use Graham steals Epso's self-lighting cigar, chucks it in the air, and they light it on fire, and it just burns everything, and they like crawl away underneath the burning atmosphere of the planet.
It's lighter than air, so if you remember that fact, you understand that like they just like stop, drop, and roll their way out of there, and they're safe.
And then we just like hard cut to the next morning. I guess they just survived the rest of the night, like perfectly fine.
They found the destination. And this is the scene that was weird to me of like Angstrom and Epso, like, there it is, there's the tent. And I
think they're both just exhausted at that point. Like, the impression I got was that they were both just so tired of this nonsense that they just didn't care.
Yeah, and they've both agreed to work together at this point because they walk into the tent and they're like, bam, Ilan, take that.
They pull a Hunger Games.
Is that what they do in the Hunger Games? Is that how they solve?
Spoiler alert!
At the Hunger Games.
Yeah, no, literally at the end of the first Hunger Games book/movie. So Katniss has like fallen in love with one of the other competitors, Peeta. Well, not fallen in love. They like
Peeta, like the bread.
Spelled with 2 E's and not an I. But they like play it up. They play the romance up to like increase the drama because if the like sponsors of the games like you, they'll donate things to you anyway. So it's just them two left at the end, and neither of them wants to kill the other one because there can only be one winner. So they both take handfuls of poisonous berries and like, we're just gonna both kill ourselves at the same time if you don't let both of us win. I was like, man, that's like the dumbest way to do this possible, because like, what if like Peeta over here has got an immunity to this poison or something, and just like Katniss just dies and Peeta's like, guess I get all the money. But yeah, then they're like, yeah, I guess we can have two winners. But then that like sets up the plot of the second and the third one because they're like, we don't like Katniss because she defied the rules of the games and whatever.
Have you read all of them?
No, I actually haven't read any of them. I've only watched the first movie and the Wikipedia plot summaries of the second and third because I was way too lazy to give more money to that franchise.
You were too late. You wanted to give money, but you were too lazy.
Well, also I heard it went way downhill after the second one, so. But I heard the books were pretty good all the way through.
Means YA, how good could it be?
Hey man, Harry Potter is like technically YA. Or I guess
yeah, how good really is it, huh?
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good. You should go back and reread it.
Yeah.
Go back and reread it. You might be surprised.
I couldn't even get through the books as a child. So
maybe you can get through it now.
Maybe. So, Ilan, not Ilya.
This race is now Russian.
Ilan is like, yeah, I guess you can both win. I guess I'll just transport you to like the winning ceremony or like whatever comes after.
This was really funny actually to me because they're like, they basically threaten him because they're like, look, we're going to get off this planet if you don't take us. We're going to get off this planet, we're going to find you, and we're going to make the rest of your life like a living hell, basically. And he's like, he considers this for a second. He's like, all right, both of you can win. And he's like, I'll get you off the planet now. And then like Angstrom goes, and them too. And he goes, no. And then he just clicks his hand and they just disappear. And I just thought that was hilarious. This guy is like one of the most hilarious characters created for Doctor Who, because he just does not care, like, at all. And I like kind of admire that in a way. When they show up at the beginning, he's like, you guys are literally worthless. Like, I don't care about you. And at the end, they're like, take them off the planet too. And he's like, no, just no. He doesn't even justify it. He doesn't explain it. He doesn't monologue. He just says no, and he does it.
He doesn't have to. He has like unlimited power.
That's why I think it's great. He just says no, and then that's it. It's done.
But since they're at the site of the ghost monument, the Doctor sees the TARDIS off in the distance.
Well, first they like came at the wrong time. TARDIS isn't here. TARDIS only comes once every 1,000 solar cycles, which when you have 3 suns, what does that mean? And then the TARDIS like dramatically starts to materialize. And the Doctor's like, stabilize. And it stabilizes.
And we get some more Kickstarter music. I guess this is the 13th Doctor's theme.
I don't know, actually.
It plays in like heroic moments for her. It played when she was creating her Sonic, and it's playing here now that she has found the TARDIS. And yeah, it's just music you would hear in a Kickstarter video, in my opinion.
Hey, maybe Doctor Who is just a Kickstarter for time travel. You never know. Just saying. That'd be pretty whack, though. That'd be pretty whack.
You know what else is whack is the fact that they brought back the food machine. We'll get there in a minute. We get the grand like moment that every companion gets of it's bigger on the inside.
Well, the Doctor doesn't even know what it looks like. She thinks it's still a mess from when she regenerated and everything fell apart. But turns out the TARDIS redecorated.
Yeah, into like one of those neckbeard nest like 4chan rooms.
I was going to say it regenerated into a cathedral. The inside now is like 3 times the volume of what it was before.
No, but it looks really cool.
It does look really cool. And you know what? It actually reminds me of the 8th Doctor's TARDIS console room in the TV movie. You know, with that massive room where the 7th Doctor's just like sitting on an armchair and he's got like a whole living room in the TARDIS console room.
It was like 2.5 years ago. Don't expect me to remember what that looked like.
But this kind of reminds me of that, just like in the sheer size of the room. But it's kind of like in the center of the room, there's like these columns, and in the middle of the column is the console, which looks very steampunky.
Yeah,
the whole room looks very steampunky, actually.
Well, I think color-wise, it definitely reminds me of the 10th Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the immediate thing that I thought when I saw it.
It's also very new age. There's lots of crystals everywhere. Crystal healing. Power of crystals. I don't know. And the Doctor's like really surprised at all this. She likes it. She tells Graham, Yaz, and Ryan that she can take them home now. And they're like, awesome, let's go.
Yeah, and we get the great moment where like the Doctor tells Ryan that it's not only a space machine, but also a time machine. And he's like, whoa. That's, I guess his catchphrase is like proper as an adjective.
That's proper awesome.
Yeah, that's proper awesome.
Well,
proper is always an adjective,
likes
but
the
like
scene
in that way.
Earlier in the episode when the Doctor's like, is anybody else confused? Or is it just me? And Yaz goes, yep, I'm confused. Ryan goes, yeah, I'm proper confused. And then just Graham goes, I'm well beyond confused.
Yeah, no, I wrote down all of them. Let me see. The Doctor's confused. Yaz is pretty confused. Ryan's proper confused. And Graham is way beyond confused.
There's levels of confusion, you know? I'm going to use that now to rank how confused I am by the plots of Doctor Who stories moving forward. Confused, pretty confused, proper confused, and way beyond confused.
What are some way beyond confused? Like Ghostlight?
Ghostlight is a way beyond confused.
The Massacre in terms of like how it got greenlit and made.
Yeah, the Massacre. Meglos is like kind of there.
Meglos is proper confused.
Okay, Meglos is a proper confused. What's a pretty confused?
Most like Stephen Moffat episodes.
Good Man Goes to War, I think, is a proper confused.
So I forget what they actually use the food machine for.
It just dings out a cracker when the doctor pulls the lever, and she's like, "Oh, wicked."
So that's the end of the episode. The preview informs us that they're going back to Rosa Parks' time.
I've been looking forward to next week's episode for a while because I really like it. I think it's a really cool twist on the historical, but we're not there yet, so...
Yeah, but where we are is the information that, like, we're getting historicals again. And I kind of just want to touch on this because this entire era reminds me so much of the classic show. And we didn't even talk about the new intro, which is like another take on the very first Doctor Who intro. And it's really good. I know I've been saying I don't
disagree.
I don't like the music direction that they've gone with, like, within the show. But I really like the intro.
I don't, actually. I liked it when I watched it the first time, but watching it again and listening to it to cut it together for this podcast, I realized I'm actually not a big fan of it. I think the bass is way too loud.
Yeah, it is. It is very loud. But I think that that is true for the entire show now. You know, again, I don't remember how to pronounce, or I never looked up how to pronounce his name, but Akinola is probably how you, something close to how you
I
say
just
it.
feel like for the main title theme, the bass is like louder than the main melody, and like the main melody is what I'm here for when I'm listening to the theme song for Doctor Who, right? So like this theme feels very much like I'm listening to this dun-dun-dun-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun, like that's what I'm listening to, and not, you know, the doo. That's just my opinion.
But the loud bass is in the show itself as well, with like the more ambient style music that we're getting now.
Maybe that's just his style.
Yeah. Seems like it.
I'm not a huge... I mean, I enjoy that it like mixes together, because listening to it to cut it together for the show, I realized he literally just took the synth theme, the... which one was it? Not the Dudley Simpson one. The
Ron Grainer one?
No, later.
I don't know.
What's his name?
I have no idea.
What's his name? Dominic Glynn just took the synth version. I think it was the Dominic Glynn one. He just took that synth and then just took Murray Gold's drums and put them together. I realized there's not actually anything that he did in there.
Trust your doctor, disparaging people's careers one episode at a time.
Go back and listen to it and tell me I'm wrong. He increased the volume of Murray Gold's bass line by 500%. He threw Dominic Glynn's synth on top. I'm sure it's Dominic Glynn and not the synth one, which I'm also forgetting.
It's probably his own that just sounds very similar. Like, I would be surprised if it wasn't
back and
his own.
Listen to them side by side.
I'd be very, like, it's, again, even if it's almost exactly the same, I would be shocked if, like, someone, like, if you got a chance to make the Doctor Who theme and be in charge of Doctor Who's music and you don't make your own theme, like, really? I think it's just probably very similar. Again, I've only heard it once.
But then even still, like, sure, if it's just if he just re-recorded it on a modern synth, still the same thing. It's the same interpretation. He's using, I guess, that interpretation of the line
better way
instead
of phrasing it.
Creating his own, like pretty much every composer did to this point.
I still miss Murray Gold. I didn't realize how much Murray Gold's soundtrack contributed to, like, the overall feel of Doctor Who until now.
Well, that's partially why these episodes feel a lot more like the classic show, because there is almost no incidental music. Yeah. No noticeable incidental music, I should say.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing in the classic show, that, yeah, there was incidental music. Like, you can go back and you can hear it, but it was never the forefront or noticeable.
Yeah, Murray Gold actually went in a much more melodic direction, and then this is sort of a return, I think, to kind of what we got with the classic.
Yeah, I think Murray Gold went in a more quote Hollywood unquote direction, where the music forms an integral part of conveying the emotion of the scene instead of just being a backdrop upon which the scene plays out.
Well, I think Akinola's score does as well. It's just more ambient. Maybe not so much in this one, but I think the ambient music in
but I guess I guess to me, like, if it's just ambient noise.
Well, maybe ambient's not the right word, but like low
Yeah,
key and
because like to me,
non-melodic.
like if it's just ambient, that doesn't say that it's like conveying the emotion of the scene. It doesn't sound sad when they're sad or happy when they're happy.
Yeah, I mean we'll have to see. I still miss Marie Gold, but I don't want to harp on that too much. Other things that remind me of the classic show, well, other than just like bringing back stuff like the food machine. Well, now I'm blanking. I didn't write them down, so that's unfortunate.
Well, there are things
Well, I
like
don't know.
the interplay between the companions feels very Tegan Turlo and Nissa esque to me.
Yeah, but that was only one era. Like it does feel. This does feel like the Fifth Doctor Tegan Turlo-Nissa,
But I
but
mean,
that was only.
but it does also feel very classic in that, again, I think this goes back to what I mentioned in the retrospective, where we're kind of getting back to an era of the show where the Doctor doesn't know what's going on. Like a big thing about this episode is the Doctor's like in space, and then she's like, "Why weren't we on a planet? I don't know." And they get to the planet, and she's like, "Oh, the planet was moved." Like she figures it out as the episode goes on, which was always a very classic thing to do, or
Right.
the thing that the classic show did, I should say, in that the Doctor was figuring it out as the episode goes along. Like when she gets there, she's like, "What's the ghost monument?" "Oh, it's the TARDIS." They get to the facility with the robots, and she's like, "What are these robots?" "I don't know, but we'll figure it out." "What are the cloth people?" "I don't know, but we'll figure it out." So,
Yeah. Oh, I remember one thing that also kind of reminded me of the classic show is, well, this is touching on the preview and next week, but the return to historicals. And I know Rosa last year was one of the big episodes that there was a massive outcry about like why are they going to this like political historical moment, and like but thinking back, like they always did for the historicals, like the French Revolution, the Old West. What are a couple more?
the French Revolution, you said that one, right?
Yeah,
Black. Oh,
the massacre,
The
like
Scottish Revolution.
yeah, this the whatever that was, whatever that war was. The massacre was also really like political. So like they've always done it.
Enemy of the World was an incredibly political story.
Yeah. Well, even stuff like once they stopped doing historicals, even stuff like the Happiness Patrol. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's if you don't like that, you don't like that. But I don't think this is anything new. Is the thing.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what they kind of do, and I'm interested now that the show is going back to that because we haven't had that since like what this. When was the last historical? Like the 70s.
Black Orchid.
That wasn't even. Yeah, I guess it was, you can call it historical.
Black Orchid is like a pseudo historical. I mean, next week is kind of like a pseudo historical as well because there is an alien influence in the episode, but it's not like what was it, the one with Charles Dickens where there's ghosts haunting everyone and there's aliens. It's like this is. I think that the distinction is that this is a story about an event in which Rosa Parks participated, rather than being just a story where Rosa Parks is a character and maybe not necessarily about the event she's known for. Like the Charles Dickens story and the Van Gogh story as well in the Moffat era were like, those weren't stories about specific moments in either of those two people's lives. The William Shakespeare one as well. Those are just stories in which.
Wasn't the Charles Dickens one attempting to explain like how he went to London for some reason? I don't remember. I seem to
But like
remember
barely. That was like just a thing they threw in at the end to explain why he went to London. But like those three episodes were basically just like a normal Doctor Who story where aliens are invading, but these three historical characters happen to be involved.
Yeah, now that I think about it, the Eaters of Light was like that as well.
And that's kind of the closest we've gotten to a historical, like recently anyway.
Yeah. So we'll have to see, or I'll have to see rather.
I want to introduce a mini segment to the show that I'm going to be upkeeping every week because it's something I just remember the 13th Doctor does like every week, which is that she references a historical figure that she's met.
Huh.
So I think it would be fun to just keep track of all the historical figures she's allegedly met.
Yeah.
In this episode, she lends Graham a pair of sunglasses, and then she says she can't remember who she borrowed them from, whether it was Audrey Hepburn or Pythagoras. And he's like, Pythagoras didn't wear sunglasses, and she's like,
That's what you think.
she basically says, that's what you think, but she says it in a weird way, like, well, he needed them when he was hungover or something like that. So, Just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, it's good to have another segment now that we cut out like a bunch of our other segments. Well, just the screwdriver one. Which doesn't get any use in this episode, I don't think.
No, it gets quite a lot of use, actually.
Oh,
she
really?
scans Ilan and discovers that he's a hologram. She scans the robots and discovers where their origin source is. She scans the cloth things to discover that they're just cloth things. She uses it to stabilize the TARDIS at the end.
Oh, I guess we didn't cut out that segment after all.
I just was rambling that off the top of my head. I didn't actually write those down.
I didn't notice any of those. Maybe like now that we're not keeping track, it's like a weight off my shoulders that I don't even have to like pay attention to.
Maybe.
Or maybe they're integrating it more into the episode. Maybe our Lord and Savior Chibnall, is doing that.
Perhaps. I did write down one quote from this episode if you want to move into the quote section. I don't know if you have any quotes.
Nah, I don't. As usual.
Just Graham's silly quote that I thought was funny when Epso is just moaning about his life, and Graham goes, "Were you born that miserable, or did you have to work at it?"
Pretty sure it happened when his mom, ruined his psyche.
Yeah. You know what else probably reminded you of the classic series is when the 13th Doctor just busts out a Venusian Aikido in this episode, too.
Yeah, she says, harmless Venusian Aikido, and I was like, flashback montage to, the third Doctor knocking people out.
Or the 12th Doctor literally flipping a dude in World Enough in Time with Venusian Aikido. Damn, we've gotten to, at this point, someone hit and run it and made it out that the Venusians have 4 arms and the Doctor is just so good at it that she can perform it with 2 arms. Have we gotten that? Or is that a later this season Chris Chibnall introduction?
I don't know. Beats the heck out of me.
Well, on that note, I'm out of things to say.
Same here.
Except that, just a reminder, we'll be joined next week by RG again for Rosa. And if you would like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on the new TARDIS. There's a new TARDIS exterior as well. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, it's
a slightly different shade of blue.
It's always just slightly different, though, so nothing worth mentioning.
This one's more like teal colored. Maybe we should change our logo to match the color of the TARDIS, contemporaneously.
I mean, be my guest. Seems like more work than it's worth.
I mean, it's literally just a paint bucket tool.
Exactly.
30 seconds, tops.
Exactly.
I feel like that guy in Atlantis is when Milo's they took probably 50 years to build the statue, and the guy just blows it up. He's like, "Look, I made a bridge. Took me 10 seconds? 12, tops." Anyway, you can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next week we're going to be, again, joined by RG for Rosa. But until then, in the end.